This is gonna make sense later. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Solar Systems, where we help you understand the system your soul goes into. This is Moon Days with Michael. I'm your host, Royal Triangle Michael, and I am cutting out the esoteric middleman and giving you the tools you need to connect yourself right to the freaking source. Now, got snow in the sheath, man. Alright guys, so now that we gotten that intro out of the way, and you have read the title of this video, you can tell that we're talking about Bellatrix, one of the fixed stars inside of the Orion constellation. Let's talk about where you can find Bellatrix. So, Bellatrix is the left shoulder of the Orion constellation, and we'll touch on that in a minute. Now, Bellatrix, as of right now, can be found around 21 degrees of Gemini, and it has an orb of 2 degrees 20 minutes. Now, Bellatrix has gone by many different names in the past. Bellatrix means the female warrior. It has also gone by the Amazon star, the lion, the conqueror, so on and so forth. So this video, we're going to be talking about the actual influence and energy that this fixed star carries, and also its role inside of the Orion constellation itself. So without any further ado, let's start talking about Bellatrix. So Bellatrix's energy carries a lot of Mars and Mercury energy, but mostly Mars. And I actually have this placed in my Mars. Now, the actual spirit of Bellatrix usually tends to portray itself as a female, a girl. Now, you might be asking, oh, but Uncle Mikey, how does a star inside of the Orion constellation, birthed from the Archangel Michael, have its own shape and form? Well, I'm so glad that I made up that hypothetical question for you to ask me. You have to remember something, that all of the stars inside of the Orion constellation, even though they are made by the Royal Archangel Michael, have their own influences in itself. Think of it like this. If we're going to compare the Orion constellation to Earth, if Earth is the Orion constellation, then all of the people living on Earth resemble all the stars inside of that constellation, and how they have their own ideas, feelings, thoughts, behaviors. They all have different energy that they carry. So even though they make up the constellation, they're still their own individual spirits that were birthed from the Royal Archangel Michael into this shape and form. Let's talk about the influences of Bellatrix. This has to do with, this is going to come as a shocker considering who made it, war and military-like energy. Now, depending on how this angles you in your chart and where you have it in your chart, this can either lead to high military honors or very destructive type warpath energy, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. But let's get back to the Mars and Mercury influence. So Bellatrix likes to carry a lot of Martian energy because it likes to act and do this unadulterated. It just likes to do things, and a lot of times this can be very violent or uncontrolled, unbridled anger, so to speak, is a very good way of describing how Bellatrix actually operates. Now, the Mercury side of this is very important because even though Bellatrix likes war and knives, the swords, makes sense now, doesn't it? Wars can still be fought with words, such as these videos. When you're talking about old, outdated ideas, concepts, feelings, things of that nature, you are basically launching a war of trying to get rid of these old, outdated ideas that have led many people astray and bring in the new ideas with your words. But in a way, you're still fighting a certain fight. Now, as I have talked about, Bellatrix is very violent, uncontrolled, unbridled rage, so to speak, and it likes knives. It likes to attack things that it goes against. And the reason for this, obviously, if you have paid attention to who made the constellation, the actual spirit of war and protection, then you will understand why it's one of the shoulders of this constellation. But now you have to understand, why is it the left shoulder and not the right shoulder? The left shoulder is often portrayed of holding a shield. The reason for this is because if left to its own devices, holding a sword willy-nilly, you have no idea what kind of destruction is going to come after that. Now, Bellatrix obviously can be controlled and tamed, and that is shown by it being the left shoulder of Orion and not holding an actual weapon. You see, there is a time for the type of warfare that Bellatrix likes to bring, but you have to understand when it is time for that and when it is not, which is why it's not holding the actual weapon in the images of Orion. And we'll get to the difference of Bellatrix, the left shoulder, and Betelgeuse, the right shoulder of Orion, when we actually talk about Betelgeuse. To sum up Bellatrix, this energy brings war, it can bring military honor, destruction, downfall depending on how you aspect it in your chart and depending on how you carry it, as well as how aware you are of that energy that you carry. Now, this energy might actually remind you of a certain type of astrological energy that might be really cold. It's probably a water sign, most definitely is a water sign, usually represented by a scorpion, Scorpio energy. What happens when you let Scorpio energy build up for too long? It explodes in a very violent and dangerous kind of way. And if that energy is not controlled, who knows what type of friendships it's going to tear apart, man. Like, you have no idea. Bellatrix is like that, but it doesn't necessarily need build up to explode. It's just when you let it out, it's out, and you have to struggle to rein that back in. So if you have this energy in your actual chart, find out what planet it's in and what house, and think back to the times where certain areas in that house had been affected and you felt like you just wanted to explode for what seems to be no damn reason. You have to understand is that Bellatrix will kind of find any reason it can to be let out and go on its warpath, because in the end of the day, that is a very likely outcome if you have that energy. So that's Bellatrix for you. Violent, likes knives, likes to attack things, mostly Martian type of energy with a little bit of Mercury influence in there, because you can fight battles with words. It is placed in roughly, as of this time, 21 degrees of Gemini and has an orb of 220. So stay tuned for the next video where we're talking about Betelgeuse, the right shoulder of Orion. And if you guys like this video, like, comment, subscribe, let us know how you're doing. If you guys would like to request a reading where we can tell you a whole bunch of different things, your Sun, Moon, Ascendant breakdown, a full-out natal chart reading, or if you just want to know the fixed stars inside of your natal chart, email us at readings@solarsystems.org, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. But until next time, fly high, y'all.